What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Veve Investments. I appreciate you tuning in. On today's episode, we're talking about my favorite comic covers. So if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. Without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So last week I put out a tweet giving you guys the opportunity to vote on an upcoming episode. I gave you guys the options to vote between my favorite comic covers, my favorite one-of-ones, and my favorite decon pieces. You guys came back voting for my favorite covers. So with that being said, I don't want to waste any time. We're talking about 40 comics today. Let's hop into the first one. So the first comic we're talking about today is going to be House of X #1. Now keep in mind, guys, we're really focusing on the art for today's episode. So the only information I have on the left-hand side here is going to be whether it's a modern age, bronze, silver, or gold age, and then also the specific variant I'm talking about, in this case, the entire set. So I'm a big fan of all the covers for this comic, but if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose the ultra rare. I just love the comics where it looks like it's a toy in a package. The secret rare is actually going to be a really nice one as well. I like the purple at the bottom and then the yellow at the top, but overall, a lot of detail in that variant as well. But yeah, it's going to be a modern age comic released back in 2019. Next up, I have Immortal Hulk #1. So actually a bit of an older comic on the platform now. It's going to be another modern age released back in 2018. In this case, I'm talking about the secret rare. But come on, guys, that thing looks cool. I love how he's centered in the middle. He's got that really mean look. There is a lot of green, but I think in this case, they made it work really well. And then personally, one of my favorite colors is purple. So they have that on the title and in the background as well, just to add a little cherry on top. Next up, we have Amazing Spider-Man #361. So released back in 1992. It's a modern age comic. And this time we're talking about the uncommon variant. So I think it's a very clean looking cover. It's got the nice black background. It's got the bright Carnage popping right out. And then centered in the screen, you got his two bright white eyes staring right at you. So I think that looks super cool. But for an uncommon cover, which I'm not normally a fan of, this is probably one of my favorites on the platform. Next up, another Spider-Man comic, this time Web of Spider-Man, or the Scarlet Spider, released back in 1985. Again, another modern age comic. And we're talking about the ultra rare. So this is going to be a Veve exclusive comic cover. For those who don't know, Veve did start working with Marvel to have some of their comic artists create exclusive comic covers for the Veve platform. So what you're looking at on screen is one of them. I think it looks super cool. You got the blue background, you got the bright orange spider web, and then again, centered right in the screen, you have Spider-Man popping right out at you. Next up, I have Power of X #1, and just like House of X #1, I'm talking about the entire set here. So I love every single cover for this comic. It's going to be another modern age comic produced back in 2019. Now the art styles for each variant kind of match the art styles for each variant for the House of X comic. So the two commons, uncommons, rares, ultra rares, and secret rares look very similar to each other. Again, if I had to pick a favorite, I would have to choose that ultra rare. I just love it when they look like they're in that packaging. Next up, we have a Thanksgiving special comic. So Uncanny X-Men #308. It's a Silver Age comic produced back in 1963. And in this case, I'm talking about the uncommon variant. Now the rare variant actually looks pretty cool as well. I would have to favor this one over that one though. But yeah, you have multiple members of the X-Men sitting down enjoying Thanksgiving on what's a very colorful comic cover. And what I also really enjoy about pieces like this is because there's so much going on, it actually takes you a little bit of time to really, register everything that's in the picture. Next up, we have a cool cover for Amazing Spider-Man #3. So this is a Silver Age comic produced again back in 1963. This time, the ultra rare cover. So this is going to be another Veve exclusive cover. And I think it looks really, really cool because you have Dr. Octopus centered in the screen coming right at you. You have Spider-Man, again, centered, but right below him. And I don't know. It's the little things that matter to me. So you got green in the center of the screen. I don't know if you noticed that, like the green background behind Dr. Ock. And then to balance it out, you have a red at the top and the bottom with the title and Spider-Man. Next up, we have Fantastic Four #12. So another Silver Age produced back in 1961. Another ultra rare cover. And this time we have the Hulk fighting the Thing. I really enjoyed the detail on this one. It looks pretty brutal, doesn't it? But you have the spit flying from their mouths from punching each other. You can see the veins in the Hulk's arm. And then to really focus on the characters, you have the two characters quite enlarged with a darker background. So I like that as well. This one, super clean looking comic. Strange Academy #1. It's a modern age comic produced in 2020. And this time I'm talking about two rarities, the rare and secret rare. So what you're looking at on screen is going to be the secret rare. I'm going to toss both up. The secret rare is super clean. Them all standing in a circle, very vibrant colors. By the way, guys, the reason why I'm not covering the names of the artists behind these covers is because I am so bad with names. I'd be sitting here for 20 minutes just embarrassing myself. So yeah, that's the reason I'm not doing that. But we got Spider-Man #1. It's another modern age comic produced back in 2012. This time I'm talking about the uncommon variant. So the common variant actually looks very similar to this. It's just them without their masks on. But I prefer it with them on. I think it looks super clean. And yeah, get a little bit of older generation with some newer generation swinging into the sunset. Next up, we're going to have Thanos' Green Daughter in Fantastic Four #265. Another Silver Age comic produced in 1961. And we're talking about the ultra rare cover. So we have the Fantastic Four and what looks like a poster, and then Gamora just walking through and ripping that right down. But I like this cover a lot because of the color, right? So you got the bright yellow and orange in the bottom left. Again, the purple, my favorite color, in the back. You got the bright green centered in the screen, and then blue on either side. Next up, we have the fan favorite Deadpool 1997 #1. I went to go search the age for this comic and ended up palming myself in the forehead. Can you guess why? It's going to be another modern age comic produced in 1997. This time the ultra rare cover, and I really like it just because of how realistic it looks. So there's not too much happening in the background. Your eyes are really focused on the two characters. But again, just looking at the detail on Deadpool, that would be the reason why I had to add it to the list. I mean, if you actually compare him to the version standing on the right, he doesn't look that much different. Next up, we have a bit of a funny comic here. It's going to be another Silver Age produced in 1967. I know nothing about this comic series, but I really like the comic cover because you have a bunch of different Marvel characters. You have Thor, you have Captain America, you have the Hulk, see Spider-Man in the background there, but they're all like little, I don't know, eggs? I don't know what they are, but they're not their normal form, let's put it that way. I thought it was unique, it gave me a little laugh, so I thought I'd add it to the list. Next up, we have X-Men #25, another modern age comic produced in 1991. And we're talking about two variants again, this time the uncommon and ultra rare. So what you're looking at on screen is the uncommon variant. And oh my lord, the color, the detail, everything about this comic is so cool. The eyes just staring right through the glass. I mean, I don't really need to say much else. It kind of speaks for itself, right? I also really like how they included the logo as part of the shattered glass and didn't just like imprint it on top. And then the ultra rare cover, again, another good looking piece. You're gonna have Magneto just making easy work of Wolverine. Next up is Ultimate Fallout #4, first appearance of Miles Morales, another modern age produced in 2011. And I'm talking about the rare cover. So this cover is actually well known in the community. I've seen lots of people talking about it, and oh my lord, it is clean. You got Morales in a really cool looking pose. It actually kind of reminds me of the secret rare variant on the app. And then it's also going to have that nice bright red background. Next up, we have Silver Surfer Black #1. And this cover is probably in my top 5. Oh my lord, I love this cover so much. The colors are beautiful, the details there. You have Silver Surfer centered in the screen. I'm not sure who that is in the back left. But then you also have the title on the top right to kind of fill the dead space. Now this is going to be a modern age comic. It was produced in 2019. But in addition to the ultra rare that you guys are looking at on screen, the uncommon is also a really cool looking cover. You kind of have the Silver Surfer flying towards you, while again, I'm not too sure who that character is in the back, but he's trying to reach out and grab him. A little bit of a brighter cover as well. You got some orange thrown in there, but again, another great looking piece. Next up, let's talk New Mutants Annual #2. So the first Bronze Age comic in today's episode. Produced in 1984, and we're talking about the rare cover, but I mean, that pops, doesn't it? You got the black and white background. This is again another exclusive comic for Veve. So this was hand drawn by one of Marvel's comic artists. The ultra rare does have a colored background, but I did prefer the black and white because then the character in the yellow and orange kind of just pops a little bit more. The background for the ultra rare was orange and yellow as well, so I mean, it still looked good. It's just the character pops a lot more on the rare. So That's why I'm choosing this one. I think it looks great. What do you guys think in the comments down below? Next up, another Spider-Man comic, this time number 798. Another modern age comic produced in 2015, and it's an uncommon variant. I'm not normally a fan of the uncommon covers, but every once in a while they really just hit it on the nail, and this is an example of that. So you got Spider-Man fighting the Green Goblin. He's tossing his pumpkins at him. Spider-Man's dodging them left, right, and center, but makes for cool little camera angles. You got the orange, the yellow, the green, the red, the blue. You got a little bit of everything in this piece, so it's another one I really enjoy. Next up, we have Vengeance number 1, a modern age comic produced in 2011, and we're talking about the uncommon variant. Who do we have here? We have Dr. Ock, Quicksilver, Dr. Doom, Magneto, and I'm not recognizing the other two. Don't come after me. But you got another cool little camera angle here. So you got the cards flying up in the air and what looks like everybody trying to grab them. Next up, we have Spider-Man number 1, another modern age comic released back in 1990. And we're talking about another Veve exclusive rare cover. So to anyone who's perhaps newer to Veve, there are only going to be 2 Veve exclusive comic covers, the rare and ultra rare variants. Not for every comic, but for most of them at this point. The rares are going to be a black and white penciled version, sometimes with color like the one you see on screen, the Spider-Man in yellow. And then the ultra rare version will normally be the exact same comic cover, but in full color. Next up, Thor number 1, another modern age comic produced in 2014. And we're talking about the ultra rare cover. So it's a very colorful comic cover. We have Loki centered in the middle, looking evil as always. We have Thor with his hammer, and then the lightning coming from his hammer. This is the part that I really like. It kind of breaks the cover down into different parts, and it turns it into a bit of a collage, if you guys know what I mean. Next up, we have Marvel Legacy number 1. So a modern age comic produced in 2017, and we're talking about the ultra rare cover. So I like this cover a lot, mainly because of the colors. You have the orange in the top left, balanced with the blue on the right, green in the bottom left, and then red. Like Thor, for example. But nevertheless, the art is very cool. Next up, we have Marauders number 21. And I don't know what it is about this cover, but something just hits home with me. It's a modern age comic produced in 2019. It's the uncommon variant. And aside from the character on the cover, what I really like here is the color distinction from white to pinkish red. But I also really like the details in the background. Next up, we have Spider-Man number 4, another modern age comic produced in 1990. It's an ultra rare cover. And it's another cover that has, you know, a little bit of everything here. A lot of different colors. You have the orange, the yellows, the pinks, the reds, the greens, blacks. But then it also has like a bit of a darker feeling to it as well. You got the melted candles and then the voodoo doll at the bottom left with her holding the skull. So overall, I think it's a really well-rounded piece, and I wanted to include it on the list. Next up, this cover is awesome. We got the all-new Ghost Rider number 1, modern age comic produced in 2014, and it's the uncommon variant. So we got a few of these comics on the platform now where it's got the, the cartoon look to it. I don't believe it's one specific artist. I think there's a few artists now on the platform that kind of have covers like that, but this would be an example of one of them that I absolutely love. Next up is Nova number 1, and the Nova comics on this platform have some very unique art. So this is a modern age comic produced back in 2013. And although I am showcasing the ultra rare cover in today's episode, I would highly recommend checking out the comics. All covers in their sets are quite unique. I just happen to favor the ultra rare over the rest of them. But in this case, you got him reaching up, centered in the screen. You have the blue highlights around him, but then you also have this nice space background where you get some tones of reds and pinks and blues and purples, right? I've seen some people in the community make some comments on these comics in the past, so let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of them? Next up, we have a Star Wars comic, Darth Maul number 1. So it's a modern age comic produced in 2017, and I'm talking about the ultra rare variant. So we have Darth Maul on his little speeder there, and then to fill the space around him, you have the 3 little droids. So one in the top left, one in the top right, and one in the bottom right. I also do really like how the sun's shining from right behind him because that helps him pop a little bit as well. The next comic on the list is going to be New Mutants number 1. It's a Bronze Age comic produced in 1982. And I'm a fan of the ultra rare cover. So this is going to be another really balanced cover. You have the characters in the bottom right. To the left, you have the face. I'm not entirely sure who that is. You have the flying man centered in the middle of the light and between all of the characters. And then you have the title cornered with all that other branding, but centered with the face and the flying man. And then on top of that, the color. But it's all really nicely put together. That's the reason why it's on the list. Next up, we have another modern age Star Wars comic produced in 2022. And we're talking about a secret rare this time with some Wookiees. We got the two Wookiees battling it out. But the detail on this cover, I think, is phenomenal. You got that nice bluish, purplish background. You can see the detail on the fur. You have some sort of light source with the open door and light shining through in the bottom there. Lighting is something that I always notice. It's something that I'll always have incorporated in my Photoshop pieces if you guys haven't noticed that already. But adding a lighting feature can just change the entire look of an image because of the highlights and things like that that you add to the characters and surrounding environment. So that was something I noticed in the piece, but another example of a cover I enjoy. Next up, we have Black Panther #1. It's going to be a modern age comic produced in 2016. And we're talking about the uncommon variant. So another cartoon cover, but this time we got the Black Panther, or a little Black Panther, should I say, holding on to dear life to a bouncing ball of yarn. So it's a simple cover, but sometimes the simple ones are the best ones. The next comic on the list, we have Amazing Spider-Man #31. It's a Silver Age comic produced in 1963, and it's the ultra rare cover that I'm a big fan of. Now, there's one specific reason why I really like this cover, and it's the detail in the umbrella with Spider-Man. So when I first saw that, I thought that that was really neat, and I had to include it. Next up, another Nova comic, this time #8. It's a modern age comic produced in 2007. I am showcasing the common variant, but again, guys, I would highly recommend checking out their covers on Veve. They offer a little bit of what you guys see on screen, but then there are also other cover variants that have a little bit more of cartoony aspects to it, like the Black Panther cover that we just discussed. I love this cover. So cool looking. Amazing Spider-Man #93. It's a modern age comic produced in 2018. It's going to be the secret rare cover. You see Spider-Man in his black suit, but this time you actually see him with a bunch of green, I guess, goo or liquid or whatever that is. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but it adds a nice color to the cover. So when I saw this, I think it really popped. And yeah, in fact, secret rares are actually another variant that I'm not typically a fan of. But in this case, I think what you guys are looking at on screen is probably going to be one of my favorite secret rares on Veve. We have a really colorful cover of Shuri from Black Panther, this time #2. It's a modern age comic produced in 2005, and it's the ultra rare cover. I do know the artist's name. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I am a big fan of their work. They have this particular art style like what you see on screen, and there's a couple other covers that they have on Veve as well. But not only do I like their art style, a lot of their covers are very colorful, but they really catch your eyes. Next up is another Star Wars comic. We have the C-3PO special, #1. It's a modern age comic produced in 2016, and it's a secret rare variant. So I mentioned before that I really enjoy the covers that make it look like it's a toy in its packaging. And as you guys can see, you can see the little C-3PO in the bottom left-hand side. We're going to have Tales of Suspense #94. This is a Silver Age comic produced in 1959, and it's the ultra rare variant. So another exclusive comic cover for Veve. The rare is going to be a black and white version, but in this case, I do enjoy the full color version. You have MODOK centered in the screen, and a nice pinkish, reddish, vibrant, electric background. Next up is another comic special, but instead of Thanksgiving, we have Christmas. So we have the X-Men Holiday Special #1. It's a modern age comic produced in 2018, and it's the ultra rare variant. So another comic cover that makes you look for a little bit to make sure you've seen everything, but you have a bunch of little characters in here from Deadpool to Magneto, and they're celebrating their own little Christmas. We have Amazing Spider-Man #2, a modern age comic produced in 1963, and it's the ultra rare variant that I'm a fan of, another exclusive comic cover. This specific one I really like because they're popping through Spider-Man's eye. So you have the rays of light shining through, which add another cool aspect to the photo. And then you have the Vulture and Spider-Man battling it out. And I do also like, small little detail here, but I do like how they have the title a little bit to the right so that it's in line with Vulture's arm and not imprinted over top. second to last, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 4. This is a Silver Age, produced in 1963. And again, I'm a big fan of the ultra rare exclusive Veve cover. You have the Sandman centered in the middle, reaching out of the cover. And then you have that nice vibrant background to distinguish it from the sand. And last but not least, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 6. It's a Silver Age comic produced in 1963, and it's the ultra rare cover I'm talking about, where we have Spider-Man battling the Lizard. I see yellow, orange, red, blue, green, purple, gray. The list goes on. There's lots happening in this one. And yeah, I'm just a big fan of it because of the detail. Ladies and gents, that's going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Now, I do want to warn you for next episode, okay? So I've been working with subscribers in the background to review some of their collections. For some reason, my microphone will not let me use it while I have my recording software open and I'm on the Zoom call. I have no idea why. I'm mentioning this in the video to not only preempt you, but because I actually need help figuring it out. So if anyone knows why, please comment down below. But as for audio quality in next episode, the audio quality of everyone I talk to is fine. But the audio quality for me sounds like I'm sitting in a tin can. So I'm so sorry about that in advance. Unfortunately, I did only have one time to record it all. So I tried figuring it out after the first call. I just didn't have enough time between then and, the other calls that I did. So regardless, I hope you enjoy it. And that is what you guys can expect for our next episode. As for today's episode, if you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. And as for our next one, I'll catch you then.